Yeah, hello, Americans. I'm Todd Starnes. Welcome to the Todd Starnes Show. And a question to ponder as we begin today's program. Who in their right mind would schedule a nationwide protest on the third Saturday in October on game day in the middle of college football season? That in and of itself, ladies and gentlemen, explains the national divide in this country, which really is not a divide at all based on the low attendance at the weekend No Kings protest. It certainly appears that Democrats have once again hitched themselves to an 80-20 issue. And to make matters even worse, the Democrats seem to have not only lost their minds, but also their funny bones. Now, I want you to watch this brilliant AI video President Trump posted over the weekend. Gotta love this man. Gotta love this man, America. Yeah, President Trump conducting a sortie over Times Square, dumping grade A fertilizer on the leftist loons below. Well, that set off Senator Bernie Sanders.
Look, Trump may be crazy, and he may be a liar, and he may do, you describe, I mean, it's hard to imagine a president, I mean, I don't know what world these guys are living in. President of the United States, dropping feces on an American city.
Right.
All right. They may be all of those things, but this is what they're not. They're not stupid. And they are not, they are good politicians. And they're going to look at, if you think you're, why do you think the Republicans are hiding out right now?
Yeah.
Mike Johnson, the speaker, has given them, I got in their 5th week of vacation.
Yeah.
They're not coming to work. You want to negotiate? They ain't there. All right. So I think that when people all over this country are looking at these notices and say, I can't pay a doubling of my health insurance premiums,
right,
Republicans will understand that and come to the table.
Oh my God, who does that? Who takes a dump on New York City? Oh my God, he defecated on Broadway. Not cool, Donald. He pooped on us, America. Someone call Mr. Whipple. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The drive-by media, well, they certainly didn't disappoint. Check this out.
The president uses social media to make a point. You can argue he's probably the most effective person who's ever used social media for that. He is using satire to make a point. He is not calling for the murder of his political opponents, and that's what these people are doing. I mean, they're in one of these photos. I think there's a picture of the president hanging in effigy by a noose on one of these. The one on the far end. I mean, it's unconscionable.
Yeah, well, the hyperbole, it's off the charts. And I don't seem to remember the Dems having any issue with the amount of fertilizer that Barack Obama or Joe Biden spewed into our living rooms every single time they delivered a speech. And for that matter, it was President Biden back in 2021 who actually threatened law-abiding gun owners. He warned Americans that if you think you have the weapons you need to take on the government, well, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. Joe Biden said that. And as one of my radio listeners from Cleveland, Georgia pointed out today, we're better off with Trump dropping poo on the liberals than Biden dropping nukes on America. Well, let's bring in Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. Congressman, good to have you with us. And, you know, you're known around town for your wit and charm. What's your take on President Trump's Top Gun moment?
I think it's great. Bernie's line, the House has already voted. The Senate is abdicating their duties. They need to come to the table and quit with all the nonsense, adding $1.5 trillion, health care for illegals, pastry classes for male prostitutes in Haiti. It's in there. And all this is just a way to launder money back into dark campaigns and probably in the pockets of politicians. America needs to wake up. We got to do more than 12% of people at the polls, Todd. We've got to get to the polls, and we've got to turn this country around and quit with all the nonsense. You break out a bunch of 1960s hippies that are in nursing homes, and you go to the inner city areas and you're picketing, and guess what? It's all white people. And it's not real. It is not real.
You know, again, Congressman, in about a half an hour from now, we're expecting the Senate to take another vote. The next big argument, we're starting to see this already percolate. People are saying they're about to lose their SNAP benefits, their EBT cards. How do you anticipate that playing in the national media?
I think what the national media will do, what they always do, Todd, they show the worst case scenario. And then they'll talk about how Republicans are cutting off the funds to Medicaid, Medicare. And all we did was cut the fraud out. We said you got to at least try to work 20 hours a week. Of course, Congress be hard to find even when we're in session a week where we work 20 hours in reality. But the reality is that America's fed up with people riding for free, and we need to clean it up, and we need to clean it up fast.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of our listeners. And again, they're still frustrated that we are at Biden era spending levels. So I'm glad that the Republicans, that you guys are holding the line here. But the reality is we got to start cutting some money out of this budget. Do you ever expect that to happen?
No. I'm afraid that, what'll happen is they'll fuss a little bit on both sides, and then, the war pimps at the Pentagon are going to get their money, and we'll see us in just more of the same. I'm afraid we need a real awakening on the fiscal responsibility into that, Todd. You and I've talked about that multiple times. We're 37 trillion almost in debt right now. Every 100 days we add another $1 trillion. Nobody's paying attention to it, and Congress isn't. There's about 15 or 20 of us in the congressional side, and probably, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen on the U.S. Senate side that pay this stuff any attention. But you're not seeing the reaction from the people. Again, 12% of the population. As long as they're getting their bridges that they need, or their little special projects, or the dark money is paying off politicians, I don't think you'll ever see it change. I think if we could ever get to the point where we had single issue spending bills instead of these 3,000-page bills, Todd, dadgummit, what in the world? In Tennessee, as you know, we have a balanced budget state, and we have zero debt. And the reason because of that is because they have single issue spending bills. You can't have a dog catcher's bill and put a pay raise in there for legislators. So we've got to clean it up. America, we know what we need to do, but we're not going to do it. It's just like the stock trading bill. People on both sides of the aisle are getting fat. People are making 500% and 600% return on their investments in Congress. I saw a thing today where over $100 million in stock transactions in the last bit. No, it ain't going to happen until America starts poking the bear, and they need to start poking pretty quick because we don't have a lot of time, I'm afraid.
Congressman, I want to circle back. You said something about pastry chefs and male prostitutes?
Yeah, in Haiti, there's money in there for that. They want to go back to the old funding level, that $1.5 trillion. It's not just going to do golden toilets. It's gonna pay for a lot of things, circumcisions and transgender surgeries and things like that are in this bill.
Wow.
If that's what that 1.5 trillion will go back. That's what we cut out. There's a whole litany of things, Todd. I can get it to you, but there's 5 or 6 that are pretty telling, and they're pretty significant. Maybe in Washington terms, it's not a lot of money, but dadgummit, in the state of Tennessee, it's a whole heck of a lot of money.
Well, that being said, Congressman, I would politely decline those honey buns. Congressman Tim Burchett, thank you, sir.
Great. Thank you, Todd. It's great seeing you, brother.
All right. Joining me. Good to see you too, Congressman. Jeez, Lou.